Hi guys, what if I told you I could spot your weak point right now without even meeting you, in just a few minutes? Not because I'm special, but because I know exactly where to look. The funny thing is, we all like to believe we're too clever to be deceived, too sharp to fall for some smooth-talking con. But here's the truth. We're all wrong. Every single one of us is walking around with a giant "kick me" sign stuck on our back, and only con artists know how to read it. I know it sounds a little too bold. Well, stick with me and I'll tell you everything. I recently picked up something genuinely interesting. The Confidence Game by Maria Konnikova, a doctor in psychology, mind you, and it got me thinking, can this book really peel back the layers of the human mind and show how easily we get played? Spoiler alert, it does. So buckle up because we're about to dive into the anatomy of a con. And by the end of this, trust me, your whole outlook on judgment and trust will change. Ever been sitting in a cafe, sipping that overpriced latte, just people watching? You know the drill, making up little stories about strangers based on their body language or facial expressions. We all do it, right? We love pretending we've got someone figured out after a few glances. But here's the kicker, you're not the only one doing the watching. The cons are watching you too. And guess what? According to Konnikova, you make it way too easy. We tend to avoid digging too deep because we're kind of comfortable not knowing. Like, what if we're wrong? There's even a study by psychologist Jeffrey Simpson that showed couples who couldn't read each other's emotions were happier than those who could. So we find this weird comfort in being oblivious, but a con artist? They live for this. They pick up on those tiny tells you don't even realize you're giving away. You're like an open book of insecurities, and they're experts at flipping through the pages. Take Deborah Selfield, for example. A clairvoyant of all people sized her up in no time and swindled her out of $27,000. Just like that. You're probably thinking, that could never be me. But can you be so sure? Think you'd spot a con, or could you be the next easy target? Share your thoughts in the comments. Charisma, it's like a secret weapon for social interaction. A con artist walks into a room, flashes that charming smile, locks eyes with people, and suddenly they're everyone's best friend. You might call it charm, but I call it weaponized empathy. Look at Joan. Poor Joan met Greg, a guy so sweet it felt like he was dripping sugar. He built her a kitchen, took care of her sick grandmother. Literally, the perfect guy. Except everything about him, his job, his life story, was a complete lie. 2 years of her life gone, wasted on a man who was nothing more than a ghost wrapped in charisma. Konnikova nails it. Charisma lets these people slip into your life without you ever noticing. They're like magicians, but the real trick isn't sleight of hand. It's making you believe in them so much that you completely ignore all the red flags. And by the time you notice, they've already disappeared. How do they do it? Simple. They become you. Humans are wired to trust people who seem familiar, who mirror them. Think of it like dogs sniffing out members of their pack. Lisa De Bruin even did a study showing that people trusted a virtual teammate more when their face was subtly altered to resemble their own. You're programmed to trust reflections of yourself, and con artists know this better than anyone. They'll mimic your body language, copy your tone, even reflect your values back at you. You'll think, finally, someone who gets me. But what you're seeing is just a polished mirror, one they've perfected just for you. And once they've got you seeing your own reflection, they move in for the real play, getting you to say yes. Ever heard of the foot in the door technique? It's the oldest trick in the book. Just get you to agree to one tiny, seemingly harmless thing. After that, well, the door's wide open and they'll take everything you've got. Think it can't happen to you? Let me tell you about a kid from the 1900s, Bill Morrison. This 14-year-old ran a scam where he posed as a Nigerian prince. Sound familiar? Back then, he used a newspaper ad promising precious gems in exchange for $4, and adults actually sent him money. Why? Because it all started with a small ask. Once you say yes to that little thing, it's game over. You're hooked. Konnikova outlines this technique brilliantly, and honestly, it's almost funny how often it works. You think you're too smart for that? Sure, keep telling yourself that the next time someone asks for just 5 minutes of your time, that 5 minutes, it might just cost you your life savings. Then there's the reverse technique, the big ask first, then scaling back. Classic. Take Lady Worcester trying to raise money for ethical pig farming. Yes, you heard that right. A fake nobleman approaches her, invites her to his Monaco estate. She says no, of course. But later, when he pulls out a $4,000 check at her charity auction, she feels bad turning him down. The check bounces, of course. It's manipulation at its finest. First, they hit you with something ridiculous, something you'd obviously say no to. But when they dial it back, you feel almost guilty refusing. And guess what? Humans are wired to avoid guilt at all costs. It's practically built into your operating system. Con artists, they hack it like it's child's play. Let's talk about self-deception. You know that guy with the terrible toupee? You're probably thinking, who does he think he's fooling? But here's the twist. He's not trying to fool you, he's fooling himself. That's the magic con artists love. You're your own worst trickster. You build up these idealized images, thinking you're smart, desirable, untouchable. Then someone comes along, agrees with every part of that fantasy, and suddenly, you're clay in their hands. Take the 68-year-old professor, for example. Though a Czech supermodel was into him just because she liked his online profile. Never even spoke to her. Flies to Bolivia to meet her, only to get busted carrying her cocaine-filled luggage. Why? He believed in the lie. It played right into his self-image. Vanity? It's the ultimate con. And it's not just individuals. Con artists can unravel entire families. Look at Thierry Tilly, who convinced a whole aristocratic family that they were being hunted by secret societies. He fed their ego, made them feel special, like their name was central to some grand conspiracy. And what did they do? Gave him everything. It's tragic. The bigger the ego, the harder the fool. Think you're not walking around with a target on your back? Think again. Humans are natural optimists. Lose 100 times, but you convince yourself the next bet will pay off. That's how William Miller built his empire. He didn't invest a dime, just paid early investors with the cash from new ones. As long as people believed in the illusion, the scam thrived. It's the same psychology that drives gamblers. One win and they're hooked, no matter how much they lose after. People want to believe the best is coming. It's kind of cute, but also dangerous. So, are we really fooling ourselves more than anyone else? Let's debate. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's dive into cognitive dissonance, that moment when your brain twists reality to protect your beliefs. Leon Festinger nailed this in his study of cults. When their predicted apocalypse didn't happen, they didn't question themselves. Nope, they doubled down, convincing themselves that their meditation saved the world. See, when your beliefs are threatened, you rewrite the story. And con artists, they love that. Once you're hooked, you'll go to crazy lengths to stay in the game. Take James Norfleet. Invested in fake stocks, knew it was a scam, but kept throwing money at it. Why? Because admitting he was wrong was too painful. It's easier to believe the lie. Now, let's talk reputation. Humans value it like air. Robin Dunbar showed that 65% of your conversations are about gossip. You're constantly managing your image, curating it. And guess who knows just how desperate you are to keep that polished image? Con artists. That's why, even after getting scammed, most people stay silent. Remember the 70,000 folks who got duped by the Sir Francis Drake treasure hoax? None of them went to the police. Why? Admitting you got played feels worse than losing the money. It's not just vanity, it's self-preservation. So, would you rather lose the money or admit you were fooled? Let's hear it in the comments. Feeling a bit paranoid yet? Good, that's the idea. This isn't just about how con artists operate. It's about how you operate. Every human is a little bundle of trust, hope, vanity, and ego. And here's the kicker, it's not going anywhere. The real way to protect yourself isn't by being smarter, it's by knowing your own weaknesses. Con artists don't fool you because they're brilliant. They fool you because you hand them the keys to your mind. If you can figure out what makes you impulsive, what makes you trust too easily, maybe you'll catch the next con before it hits. But if you think you're safe, that's exactly what they want you to believe. If this peek into the art of deception hit home, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the mysteries of your own mind. Stay sharp and remember, trust no one, and mostly, don't trust yourself. Okay now, joke of the day.
By the way, dude, why did the con artist bring a shovel to the graveyard?
Because even the dead are easier to dig up than your common sense.